5% of the bird population dies every year due to bird collisions with buildings. Another interesting fact to know is that 25% of the bird population species in the US is on the watch list. This is obviously an issue that needs to be changed, and progression has really been hindered so far. If you remember from our problem speech, I talked about the two biggest causes of these collisions with buildings. One being from the reflections from the glass, as well as light pollution caused from unnecessary lighting in buildings. I'm an architectural engineer here at Penn State and I'm very interested in this topic as it goes with green building, designs of buildings and facades, as well as efficiency in lighting and other elements of the building construction industry. My main thesis today is to show you that this isn't just one issue or another, but rather a complex issue that requires a variety of industries to combine in a combined effort to solve this problem of bird collisions with buildings. Today I'm going to touch on three of the most important. One being the different uses of glass, contrary to the ones used today. Two being lighting design and eliminating light pollution that's unnecessary and harms our environment. And three is the enforcement of these new design practices, which would be ushered by new legislation both federally and state. So, like I said, deterring bird collisions is a complex issue and requires a multitude of different industries, whether it's a governmental entity, a general contractor, an architect who's designing a building, as well as the building owner. And these are the three things we're going to go over today. So, the biggest issue is obviously glass. Birds fly into, they see a reflection in glass and fly straight into it. That impact causes a very big force against the bird and either causes serious injury or even fatality. It can be completely avoided by a simple new use of glass. Changing the current design practices, which have used a lot of all glass design buildings, and now instead using things such as translucent glass, opaque glass, and even patterned on glass, which all help to get rid of the reflection on the exterior of a facade. Here you'll see a building in Philadelphia that uses translucent frosted glass, which still allows light in, but again neglects all type of reflection. As you can see here, it literally looks like a white building. And on my right, you can see is the Heck building in Washington, D.C., which makes use of glass blocks, which I've seen in apartment buildings here at Penn State, at UVA, and all over, and is extensively used in buildings. And again, it's a simple change that can stop these bird collisions from happening in the first place. Alternatively, you can also use different decorative facades to change, again, this growing issue of bird collisions with buildings. Here on the left is the Aqua Tower in Chicago, which makes use of, if you can see here, you can't see them, but they're tinted glass as well as the overhangs from balconies to, again, eliminate almost all the reflection from glass, as this is known as a bird-friendly building. And on the right, you can see the New York Times building in New York City, which is a pretty tall skyscraper, but again, makes use of a grill, which is ceramic poles that are spaced evenly so all the building occupants can see out the windows, but again, eliminates almost all the reflection caused from the glass facade, which you can see behind that grill. And that grill goes all the way up. And again, it's a nice structural element. Both buildings won awards for being greatly designed buildings. And again, it reduces the amount of visible glass that may cause birds to fly into. So now that we've talked about the glass issue, let's talk about the second biggest factor, which is lighting, and more importantly, the interior lighting. It's been found that using automated controls in a building will minimize not only the unnecessary light exposed to a building, but also decreases energy costs, both killing two birds with one stone. Automatic controlling lighting, best way to put it is if you can think of a sleep timer on a TV. You press sleep, say 60 minutes, and you know in 60 minutes your TV will turn off. You fall asleep, you don't have to worry about your TV being on all night. Similarly, the automated controls for lighting systems in buildings have the same. They'll be set on a timer, say 12 o'clock, midnight, 1 p.m., and they will turn off all the building lights in that building. Again, you have no occupants there, so it makes sense to have all the lights off. Secondly, you're not lighting up the entire sky, illuminating sky glow, and again contributing to a better environment. On the right here, you'll see is a combination. Another sensor used in a lot of buildings is light sensors. So you'll have a light sensor overhead, and all the lights will be turned off unless an occupant walks across or in that area. So here you can see it goes from 0 to 15 feet on either side and 0 to 20 feet of a height. And you can see like it covers a wide range. Most buildings don't have ceilings taller than 15 feet, I'd say. And again, is another way to eliminate both light pollution and cost in a building. And there's actually a case study done by Energy Star on a $250,000 square foot building in San Francisco, and they found that it cut energy costs by over 100,000 kilowatt hour over a course of a year, which is a great expense to get rid of. And again, it'll pay back itself in enough time where it's cost effective. Outside of interior lighting is also exterior lighting, another big issue with sky glow and light pollution. As you can see on this picture on the left, the ideal situation will be right here where you're lighting literally just the area you want to light and no unnecessary lighting is escaping out into the atmosphere. Up top you see an inefficient lighting design, which you're somewhat lighting the area you want to light, but again, there's so much light contributing upwards in the sky that you're not only lighting unnecessary places, you're contributing to sky glow and light pollution, which is one of the biggest things we want to minimize for our environment. On the right, you can see I've highlighted all the acceptable light fixtures, and it's really not a hard design to come up with. It's just you're having a 90-degree angle and you're coming down. You don't want to be exposing any light upwards in an angle over 90 degrees, as that would not only not light up the area you're intending to light, as well as contribute to sky glow. So it's not too complicated of an issue, and really it's not just for bird collisions but also the environment as a whole. And you can see here this distribution of programs that are currently in North America. And again, it's not an extensive program yet, but as you can see there, Minnesota is the first state to actually enforce light pollution and bird-friendly programs in the U.S., with San Francisco as a city and New York City pending. So obviously it's not picked up much steam, as most of the U.S. has not, and 49 of the 50 states have not began light-out programs, but it is starting, and it's nice to see an initiative again taking place. As you can see, there's smaller local programs in the darker blue, and more on the East Coast. And these programs, again, require office buildings and owners to turn off all light visible from the outside during the migratory seasons in the fall and spring. So now that we know we have plenty of solutions to deter these bird collisions, you're wondering, why isn't this happening? Well, if you don't have, it's like texting and driving. You have a law for texting, but without enforcing that law, it'll never put an end to texting. So unless people are known to deter from this, it's going to continue forever. And that's why it's nice that the first bill was actually passed by a senator in the House of Representatives in Illinois, and called the Bird Friendly Act, which is the U.S. first on the federal level attempt to stop these bird collisions and really add an element to building design that incorporates bird-friendly design. So I've proved to you that there are plenty of solutions out there now to solve this problem. They're pretty cost effective for the most part. It's not going to add costs to both general contractors, the architects, or building owners. And the fact that there's actually been movements passed and already begun throughout the U.S. to end this crisis. So hopefully, if the steam can pick up and all three parts of this triangle can combine efforts in hopes of solving this problem, I really think that this will be an issue that really won't be on the forefront anymore, and more birds species will be taken off that watch list, because 25% is just too high, and it's something that we really do need to take into effect. Thank you.